Yeah, it's really cool. Oh, can you get through there? I think so. You ready? Okay. I would like to call the Peoria Public Schools District 150 Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting for January 14th, 2013 to order. Would you please?
It's a regular meeting.
Okay, this is a regular meeting of the Board of Education, January 14th. Would you please call the roll?
Here.
Here.
Mrs. Ross. Here. Mr. Ford.
Here.
Mr. Crawford.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. President Crawford is out of town, so I'm chairing the meeting this evening. The next item on the agenda is awards and recognition, and it's the recognition of Peoria's finest teacher.
Good evening. Peoria's Finest Teacher is a monthly recognition that we are sponsoring for those members of PFT that go above and beyond, exemplify best practices in teaching, and or reach out to the community and parents to be involved in our schools. The teachers in this district work so hard to serve the children and families of Peoria each day, and we want to showcase this positive effort. We want to thank our winner's assistant principal here tonight, Mr. Caffey, and any faculty, friends, and family that are here in support of our winner. Our nominator of this month's winner is Travis Bowlby, if you'll come up, Travis. And this month's Peoria's Finest Teacher is Marta Vidal at Richwoods High School. Congratulations, Marta. Come on up.
Well, good evening, everyone. This sounds cliched to say, but it was very difficult to choose just one person to nominate because there are so many remarkable teachers I work with on a daily basis, including all three of our Spanish teachers at Richwoods. Earlier this year, when we were unable to find a part-time Spanish teacher, the three Spanish teachers stood up and each took on an extra class, meaning that they all had 7 classes first semester. They're, of course, very relieved now that we did find a part-time Spanish teacher. But they did that to serve the students. Mrs. Vidal sets and maintains consistently high standards in her classroom, be it in second-year Spanish, third-year Spanish, or the IB Spanish class. Many times I've overheard students comment on how her class is challenging, but also on how much they enjoy the class. She possesses just the right balance of discipline and motivation. She's part drill sergeant, part cheerleader, but always the consummate professional. The two specific examples of why I decided to nominate Mrs. Vidal are as follows. At the beginning of last school year, we had a bit of a scheduling conflict with 5 of the IB Spanish students. They were in the third year level, meaning they'd taken freshman and sophomore, first and second year Spanish, and had been scheduled to take the IB Spanish course and test at the end of the year. Mrs. Vidal volunteered to have these students embedded in her Spanish 3 class, and by way of that, also to take on the responsibility of teaching the IB Spanish course within the third-year Spanish class. Long story short, through much extra work on her part as well as on the part of the students, they all ended up successfully completing the course and scoring very well on the IB final assessments. And again, the IB courses are assessed on a scale of 1 to 7. Out of the 5 kids, 1 girl got a 6, 3 kids got 5s, and 1 got a 4, which is just really outstanding, and it's above the world average. And for third-year students, it's it's almost unheard of. The second reason is that over the last couple years, and also whether she knows this, probably this year and next year, she has taken on to the role of supervising the extended essay requirement of IB students. This is something that all IB diploma students have to do. It is a scholarly work, roughly 4,000 words, so anywhere from 13 to 16 pages of research and writing, and to do one in English is difficult enough, let alone a second language like Spanish. And she's guided several students through the process and just put in all sorts of extra time, going above and beyond, reading and rereading drafts, offering feedback, meeting with kids at night, several times on the weekends. And last year, her charge received a B, which is really just outstanding. I mean, that's beyond what can be expected. The average is somewhere between a C and a D. The IB examiners have very high standards, and this year we don't know what the student's going to receive because we just sent it off, but it is off, so that's good enough for me right now. And again, like I said, she just every day goes above and beyond, and you can tell just how passionate she is. So for these reasons, I'd say that Mrs. Vidal is una de las mejores profesores del distrito. I had some help with that, too.
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Bolby, and just want to share with you that I am probably one of those few people who get paid for doing what I love the most. That is sharing my time with my students and also sharing my culture and my language. Thank you.
Congratulations. The next is the any announcements, Dr. Lathan?
Yes, if Mr. Bowlby can wait just a few seconds, please, since we're going into announcements. We're going to announce about the IB application process. If I could have you come back up, it's perfect. I think you can do a better job than I can to talk about the, look, he's excited.
Well, that was good timing. Thank you much.
I didn't know you were going to be here tonight, but that's perfect. So, can you just talk about, number one of the issues I heard when I arrived 3 years ago was that we were not fair with the process for the IB process for students across the district. So, just talk about what you've done the past couple of years and where we
Definitely. Keeping that equity in mind and making sure that every student, every 8th grader that's enrolled in District 150 schools has the opportunity to get one of those applications in their hands, and also to hear any extra information if they are interested in the IB program, or if maybe a teacher or counselor thinks that they'd be a good candidate. One of the things that we've done over the past several years, and this year we've gone to every single middle school save for 2, which will hit later this week, is let me backtrack. We printed off 900 applications, and I delivered those applications in sufficient numbers to each one of the middle schools. Makes it a lot easier now having middle school counselors to facilitate that, and each of the 8th graders within the district received one of the applications, and we held a parent meeting, which on the front of the application there was a cover letter. That was December 12th out at Richwoods High School. We had something, believe like 96 families represented, so we had a very good crowd at the IB informational meeting. And also, I've asked the 8th grade counselors, interventionists, teachers to recommend a certain number of students who they would think would be good candidates. Again, they're not always the very, very top students, but what all of these students do have in common is that they have a motivation to learn, they're driven, they perform as well as they can perform, and for the most part, they do very well at their middle schools. And we've had them in small groups, and I've come around to the middle schools to visit, share a little more insight, not just about the IB program specifically, but also, just the great differences between 8th grade and 9th grade. And, when you move from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8, those are, of course, big steps, but moving from 8 to 9, you're just really moving across an entire plane of reality. I mean, socially and academically and so many other things. And when possible, if there happen to be IB alums from the middle schools that we're visiting, I like to take those kids out as well. Took a couple of Roosevelt graduates from the class of 09 and 10 at Roosevelt to speak to some 8th graders, kids from Washington, Lindbergh, Rolling Acres we went to last week with 3 of the class of 2010 from Rolling Acres, and it's really nice for those current 8th graders to see kids that are now in the IB program that had been in their shoes a few years before. So I think last year we received something like 145 applications, and where the deadline is next Friday, that's January 25th, we hope to receive even more this year. But again, the big push was to make sure every 8th grader received one, and every 8th grade family received the information. And I think also the website has helped greatly in that as well, and we try to put as much info as we can on there.
Thank you. Thank you, Travis.
And if I'm correct, this is still the only IB program in downstate Illinois, is that
Yes,
correct?
that is correct.
Yes, thank you. Any
Just
other-
a few other announcements, yes. Peoria High, thank you, Travis, I think they were trying to clap. I never get claps after the announcements. Peoria High's School of the Arts is also accepting applications. Those applications are due January 26th. Also, we're starting our registration process for high school students, so curriculum fairs will be held January the 29th at Peoria High, January 30th at Richwoods, and January 31st at Manual. The board will have a presentation on Monday, January 28th at our regular scheduled board meeting that will be held at Sterling Middle School. And so we'll provide you with examples of the registration booklet, how to go online and actually complete the online registration. Every high school in the district will hold an assembly for all high school students. Every high school student, 9th through 11th grade, will also receive an updated copy of their transcripts, so they'll know if they're on target to graduate, and what they need as they get prepared to register for their courses for next school year. So additional information will also be available on our district website, or contact your local high school. If you have 8th grade students that are interested, they can attend the fair at the school that they will be entering into for the 9th grade. We will also be working with our 8th grade students throughout the month of February, completing their registration with their counselors. So once again, registration will start soon. The fairs will be held January 29th, Peoria High, January 30th at Richwoods, and January 31st at Manual. Also this week, we have a parent forum scheduled for Thursday night, November 17th at Valeska Hinton, starting at 6 o'clock.
That's
the date? Oh, I said November, oh my gosh, January 17th. Ooh, what happened on November 17th? No, January. I'm getting to that. Thursday, parent forum, January 17th at Valeska Hinton. So this is just one of our monthly parent forums. And then Thursday, January 24th, we have our parent university from 5:30 to 8 o'clock at Mark Bills. Additional information can be found on our district website. Thank you.
Any other announcements from board members? All right, next is the approval of the minutes for the meetings of November 26th and December 10th, 2012. Could we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
A motion and a second, Madam Secretary. Would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. McCarthy?
Aye.
Mrs. Costa? Aye. Mrs. Butler?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross? Aye. Mr. Floyd?
Aye.
5 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries.
Thank you. We have now come to the place on our agenda where members of the public may address the school board on any topic. Please come to the podium and give your name for the benefit of the minutes. The time limit for any one speaker is 5
Bargaining with our SROs, that is continuing, that's why it's called bargaining. And we will not allow outside pressures to force us to settle a contract unless we're ready. And then the board makes the final decision on that contract. The board is kept up to date. Recommendations are made. The board gives us different recommendations. We take those back to the table. So believe me, there's constant communications with the board as it relates to bargaining that particular contract. Administrators are actually out in the buildings. We've conducted walkthroughs this year at many of our schools. Our IOs are out on a weekly basis at various schools. That's, like I said, so that was interesting to hear. I think oftentimes people forget that our board members also have full-time jobs. So most of them throughout the day are actually at their full-time jobs. And that is one of the reasons that they hire district personnel to oversee and monitor what's happening in our schools. One of the other comments was about our facilities. We have made a concerted effort over the past couple of years to address all the issues at our various facilities. So to say that we're not taking care of our facilities is truly incorrect. I encourage the general public to go out, parents go out to the schools and see and look at the different improvements. So, but we are making necessary adjustments there, and we actually have a list by school of what we've done to address those issues. Dr. Kinney will give us a facilities update shortly. But I don't want people to walk away hearing only one side of the story. We've also tried to make sure that we're being fair and consistent across the district. So whatever we're putting in at particular middle schools, we're making sure that those other middle schools are able to receive those. We've updated stages, curtains that were probably put in and installed when schools were built over 30-something years ago. So we are making those facility improvements. Let's see here. As it relates to bargaining a contract, we do take that into consideration, but we look at all our positions and we look at the needs of our district. If you go back to that pyramid and talking about focusing on students, we do focus on our students, but we've had many conversations that our students need a well-rounded education. For me as the superintendent, well-rounded education also includes extracurricular activities. We focused a lot over the past several years on academics, but we're also getting ready to start focusing on extracurricular activities. You might see at a game where you have 7 coaches and 15 players. But I'll tell you, based on the social emotional needs of many of our students that we're serving in our schools, they need those adults, especially if you see all male coaches on a line of basketball players, they need those men. And we need coaches. We know how the fee structure works. We do follow the contract. But it's great when we have more adults than students participating in activities because our students need those positive role models. I believe I've hit all the areas. If not, Happy New Year, and we will continue to move forward as a district.
Thank you. We move to information items, and I believe remarkable rule number 2, respect learning. We have a presentation. Dr. Lathan.
Yes, sorry. And if we could have Follett to come up to get prepared for the presentation, and Otto Akadi, if you have any comments that you would like to make. One of the things we've been doing in our district over the past couple of years is just focusing and looking at all our different areas. One of the issues for me is that we did not have a system in place that was tracking, and you've heard so much positive press in the past couple of years about our textbook issues, that we wanted to make sure that all the materials that we're purchasing for our children and our staff members, that we're able to track that material, keep up with it. We're able to make sure that from year to year we have the necessary resources, so when school opens the first day we have those materials in hand. If a student moves to another school or a teacher moves, that we also have the necessary materials to follow them. So at this time, Otto, if you would present our group from Follett.
Thank you very much. Sean Dunn has been our contact for the Follett presentation you're going to see tonight. Done a very good job. Originally, I made a presentation a couple of months ago, and we think this is really the all-encompassing system that provides the best chance for success in the achieving of what Dr. Lathan was just talking about. So without further ado, I'll introduce Sean to you.
Thanks, Otto. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk with everybody. Again, my name's Sean Dunn. This is my partner in sales, Jim Barassa. Between the two of us, we have a great message here for you. I had an idea of what type of messaging I wanted to bring to this meeting, and in addition to an introduction and an overview of who Follett Software is and what we've come to learn as far as partnering with the school district. I also wanted to tell you a story this evening. So I've named the story A Day in the Life of Destiny at Peoria Public Schools. And the purpose of this story is to illustrate how we can partner with the school district together to help you achieve your immediate goals, solve some problems that are going on in the district now, as well as position yourselves to solve problems and achieve goals in the future. So just to give everybody an overview of who we are, Follett Software, we're by far the K through 12 leader when it comes to resource management. As a matter of fact, our products and solutions touch almost every school district in the nation on a daily basis. And for the past 10 years, our Destiny platform has by far become the leading resource management solution in K through 12 school districts. And Destiny is a platform that's modular. It started as the first centralized, 100% browser-based resource management solution, and the 3 modules include library, textbook, and asset. They'll all work together as one centralized solution. Now, through our discussions with leaders in the district and our consultation, we've worked with them dating back to late this summer and through the fall into building a solution that's going to help meet their specific needs. Our initial conversations did revolve around the textbook problems that the district has recognized as an opportunity to manage those valuable resources more efficiently, as well as possibly save money. So, through that initial conversation about textbooks, it naturally opened the door to talking about the existing library technology, which is a Follett product. It's extremely old, outdated, and through our conversations, we found that it really wasn't meeting the students' needs. So based on that, and from the time that we first started talking to the time I'm up here, we've built one solution that includes Destiny on the library and the textbook side. So I put this story together called A Day in the Life of Destiny in Peoria Public School District that's going to show you how those 2 modules are going to meet your needs as well as possibly meet other needs in the future. So bear with me. There is, hopefully everybody has a pretty good sense of humor because I want to keep this interactive and lively. But our story starts out with Mr. Dent. His name is Stu Dent. And he's a freshman at George Washington High School. Now his family is moving across town. So he's transferring to Andrew Jackson High School tomorrow. Now, there's a lot that needs to be done to prepare for his arrival at his new school. So this brings us to Terry Sekra. She's the secretary at the front office at George Washington High School. Now, she opens Stu's status screen in Destiny, and she sees that Stu has 4 textbooks, a library book, and a trumpet checked out to him. Now, Stu has all those materials on him except for his library book. So the secretary is very easily able to check in all those materials from Stu and send him on his way. Now remember, because Destiny is a centralized solution that's browser-based with one patron database for the whole district, that one library book that he didn't have ready to turn back in is going to stay on his patron record as he moves from one school to another. So now Stu's ready to start with his very first day of school, and we meet Administrator. He's the principal at Andrew Jackson High School. Now he's responsible for making sure that Stu is going to have all the materials that he needs on his very first day of school. Now since the Skyward Student Information System has been populated, has populated Destiny Textbook Manager with Stu's class schedule, and each course has already been associated with the textbook title, it's very easy to identify what book Stu is going to need. Now, Edmund runs a textbook checkout summary to identify any students who will still need materials. Now, this particular summary report identifies several shortages. So, Mr. Estrader, he emails the textbook coordinator at the school to check other sites in the district for any surplus inventory that could be transferred to his site. The textbook coordinator has the ability to see the inventory of textbooks at all sites in the district, and that person can request or fulfill transfers right within Destiny Textbook Manager. What this has done, essentially, this has saved the district a lot of money by reducing any type of redundant purchases. The textbook coordinator checks out the needed books to Stu, and she gets those books in Stu's hands on his very first day of school. Now, this particular high school is piloting a one-to-one tablet initiative. So now Stu is sent to the technology coordinator, Ms. Tara Byte. Now, since Tara can log into Destiny from any computer with a simple web connection, she can see that there's only one more tablet available locally. She can also see that there's 18 tablets available at other sites across the district. So she makes a request to the tech director at Madison Elementary to transfer 2 surplus tablets from there as backups until hers arrives. She assigns that tablet to Stu, and now Stu can actually see all the items that he's responsible for in his own patron record. You can see he's got his brand new textbooks that were just circulated to him, his new tablet, as well as that old library book from Washington High School is still on his patron record. So now he's ready to begin his first day, and his first class happens to be biology class with Mr. Moran. Now today, Mr. Moran's he's prepared a lesson plan on the circulation system. Using Destiny, Mr. Moran is able to locate relevant materials district-wide, from high-end science kits that might need to be shared to digital content that's available anywhere, anytime. Now, before class ends, Mr. Moran logs back into Destiny, and he creates a resource list that includes books available from the library, websites, digital content, and other materials he used in his original lesson plan, and makes this resource list available to that specific group of students. Stu finishes his first biology class, and he's on to his second class, which happens to be his study hall. And he decides to go check out the school library. Now, Stu's Destiny account was created by an automated process within the Skyward system, and Destiny accepts the exact same username and password that Stu uses to log into the network. So he's able to begin using Destiny right away. Once logged into Destiny, Stu sees that resource list that Mr. Moran created for his class, and because Destiny stores login credentials securely on the server, he doesn't need separate usernames and passwords to access any type of subscription content that the school district might provide. So he plans on using this information when he studies at home this evening. But also, he just finished reading the first book in a very popular three-part series. And at his old school, he's really looking forward to reading the second book. At his old school, that book was always checked out. Well, Stu finds this second book in ebook format at his new school, and he's able to check it out to himself and begin reading that book right away. Now, meanwhile, in the library, we meet Miss Raleigh, Lita Raleigh. She's the library clerk. Now, Miss Raleigh, she does not have a very strong technical background or aptitude, but she's excellent at serving the students, and she's passionate about getting the students the information that they need, getting books into their hands, and spending as much time as possible with them. Well, today, she's actually cataloging some books that were recently donated by the PTA. She easily catalogs those books with confidence, knowing that she's going to get a professionally cataloged book from within the Destiny Alliance Plus database. She simply scans the ISBN number on the back of the book, finds the record, and enters it into her system. And while she's doing all that, she's also identifying the funding source as she catalogs. So she's going to easily be able to show how this part of her collection was funded. Additionally, Ms. Raleigh is getting ready to prepare her budgets for next year, and she wants to have a collection analysis done. She can actually send her data to Tidal Wave for a collection analysis by simply clicking on the button from within the Destiny interface. After sending her MARC records to Tidal Wave, Destiny provides a job summary containing a link to those analysis reports. And while she was doing all this, she was getting notifications for approvals right within Destiny. She approves any requests that are pending, pulls books from the shelves that are placed on hold for patrons to pick up. And by the way, running overdue notices is a totally automated process right now. And what all this does is this leaves her enough time to do what she's really passionate about, and that's spending the time with the students. Okay, so Stu, our student Stu, he's getting on with his day, And if you remember, he plays the trumpet. And he's excited about getting excited in the band. He's in band class. The band director, Mrs. Tim, welcomes him. She logs into Destiny to check her instrument availability. Now, it's important to note that Mrs. Tim's, the band director, is only seeing data pertaining to her department. She's not able to see, for example, assets that belong to technology department or special ed. And she also does notice that there is a trumpet available to Stu. However, it's not in the best condition. It's actually kind of flat. So she notes the condition of that trumpet and then assigns it to Stu. But because of the condition was documented, it's important to know that now Mrs. Timms is going to have real data to back up a request for a new instrument for the upcoming school year. Okay, we are moving along. We're in Stu's last class of the day. And this happens to be Miss Sinalot's geography class. And today she's assigning the class to do a report on a country. This particular assignment, she wants to have at least 2 print materials and 3 electronic resources, and it can be done in print or multimedia format. Stu's chosen his report to do his report on Cuba. And Ms. Sinalot gives the students the last 15 minutes of class to start doing their research. And Stu says, well, how am I going to start research in the last 15 minutes of class? Then he remembers Destiny. He logs into Destiny from his tablet, and he creates a resource list of content from these areas, from traditional library books that are available for him in the library, digital content, and databases that are in OneSearch. And he plans on using that resource list when he does his homework that evening as well. It's been a long day for Stu. On the way home, he decides to start reading that ebook that he checked out to himself earlier, but he accidentally leaves that tablet on the seat of the bus when he leaves. The bus driver turns it in to the school. The school simply scans the asset tag that's on the back of the device and immediately finds out that this belongs to Stu Dent. They make a note to call him to the office the next day to pick up that tablet. What this has done is this has saved the school district money by reducing spending on any type of lost materials. So we're getting to the end of our story. Later that evening, Stu stops at the public library to start working on his homework. And he actually logs into Destiny at the public library. He accesses that resource list on Cuba that he created earlier in the day. And because digital content can be accessed through Destiny wherever there's an internet connection, Stu's able to begin gathering even more information from his assignment virtually from anywhere. Stu goes home for dinner. And after dinner, he decides to start reading that book that he checked out to himself, that ebook that he checked out to himself. Now, he's able to read that book anywhere. Even though he's missing his tablet, he can actually read that book anywhere online because he checked it out to his account as opposed to downloading it to the tablet. Stu is so involved with this book, he likes this book so much that he thinks his friend Abby would probably enjoy this series as well. So he actually recommends the first book to her, and he invites her to discuss it in an online network within Destiny using Destiny My Quest. And meanwhile, while Stu's doing this, his mom is in the living room with his little sister Pressy. Pressy's in 3rd grade, and her teacher has been using the school district's reading programs from her school's book rooms to help her and other 3rd grade students catch up to their proper reading level. Mom gets involved as she and Pressy are able to pick out books together that are specifically rated for Pressy's reading level. And that's the end of Stu's day and the end of Stu's family's day. So again, remember, the purpose of this story was to illustrate for you how the Destiny solution is going to make an immediate positive impact to everybody in the community, from the administration to the teachers, parent involvement, but most importantly, it's going to make an immediate impact on your students. Now, it's not just the software that's going to make an immediate impact. It's creating that partnership with Follett. It's much more than, it's us helping the school district create policies and procedures to implement this solution to make sure that you have an immediate impact and it has a first-year return on investment for you. As I mentioned, Follett Software is the K-12 leader in resource management throughout the country. Throughout the country, we actually have over 60,000 schools that are currently running Destiny. This has been an available solution for the past 10 years. Over those past 10 years, we've learned a lot, and we've created a proven implementation process that ensures that your school district members, your teachers, your staff, and your students are using this solution from day one. It starts with assigning a project manager to your district, which has already been done. The first thing that the project manager does is that they bring together all of our Follett internal resources, as well as everybody who's going to be leading the project internally together for a planning meeting. During that planning meeting, we create a project timeline, and we make sure that all of our internal resources are available to you. We start out with data services, where we work intimately with your technology department to integrate the Destiny solution with your Skyward system. We also talk about implementation services, where we actually install Destiny for you to make sure that it's installed correctly the first time. We've included with your solution a full suite of training services, which include webinars as well as on-site professional training. And then beyond that, it comes with the first year of support, as well as assigning a dedicated customer management person to Peoria moving forward. So hopefully that story painted a good picture about what you guys are in store for. We want you to be excited. We're very excited for you. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, a couple of questions, and then just a couple of comments also. Number one, we talk about Stu. He had one library book out, so when he went to his new high school, let's say 2 months later he found the book, he could actually turn it in at his new high school, correct?
Absolutely.
And so when the library manager scans it in, it would show that he originally checked it out from the previous school, correct?
Absolutely, correct.
All right, and then the other question, who monitors the online conversation through Destiny Quest? So if I recommend a book to another student, who monitors that conversation?
That's a great question and a common question. Through the hierarchy and the access levels of Destiny, each school on the library side will have a school administrator, which is typically the librarian or the library clerk. If you're going to allow students to be able to post comments, write reviews, or recommend books to each other, any type of comment would have to be approved by that Destiny administrator before it's available to be seen.
Okay, all right. And just a few stats for board members. Right now, currently, we're projecting that we have 98,000 books that would need to be processed at our 28 various sites in the district. So just so you kind of get an idea of all the things that we need to inventory. Questions from board members?
Questions, Reverend Butler?
I enjoyed the presentation. I found it very interesting. Looks like it would be very helpful for the volume of inventory that we have in textbooks. I'm just wondering, has there been something established or presented to indicate that we would truly benefit from a software program as this? I heard you said that there would be we would see a return on our investment in the first year.
That's what we anticipate.
What has that looked like for other districts that have participated?
Well, the important thing is, part of your solution, a big benefit that Peoria is looking at is getting the data into the system. So part of the solution that we're proposing includes barcoding every textbook in the district, as well as entering that initial data. So based on our experience, the districts that build that initial baseline with accurate, complete data at the very beginning of the project, that's what positions them to be able to recognize significant return on investment within that first year. So it's much more than being able to reduce losses. Your textbook collection, right now, we estimate it at being a little bit over $4 million. After that first year, the data that Destiny Textbooks is going to be able to provide you is going to not only reduce losses that are going on right now, but just as importantly, help the district, give the district the data to forecast future needs. Right now, there is an issue with a large surplus, and by reducing that surplus is obviously a way to save the district money.
Thank you.
You did mention earlier that we have currently an older system of Follett. So can you just kind of hit that again so that the general public understands that we're trying to upgrade an already existing system? And we also, due to having former Edison schools, we had a variation or different products within our district, and so we were not all connected together. So all of our schools were not communicating. Can you kind of hit on that? And
Sure,
Otto,
sure.
you can jump in if you feel.
Sure, and that's, there's a difference between the library side and the textbook side. I mean, for the past few years, the district has recognized that there is a real opportunity for increased efficiency and save money by taking better control of textbooks. However, that's not something that you've specialized in, and that's one of the reasons why the district looked to a company like Follett. Libraries, they've been automated with barcoding and scanning technology since the 80s. And the system that you had, that you currently have, it was a decent system in its day. It was designed specifically to manage physical books only. And each school in the district has their own individual databases that don't talk to each other, that don't talk to anything else. What we do now as a resource management solution, we still want to hold value to those existing books in your library, but what Destiny is built to do is bring your district to help you cross that bridge into digital content as well. Everything that Destiny is being developed for now is to help you manage digital content like ebooks, databases, websites, podcasts. Even if your district is going to start publishing your own digital content, that's what we're built to be able to do right now. It was very clear that the old Spectrum system was not meeting those needs.
Ms. Ross?
I'm not sure if this is a question for you, or maybe I should just ask administration. I know that we are in the process of upgrading our textbook system, or our textbooks. We have outdated textbooks. I mean, the system that we had before, are those outdated books part of that system? I'm just not sure. I know we were updating and upgrading our textbook system.
Previous, any current textbooks that we have on hand would be inventory and put into our system. We are phasing out those books that are outdated.
That's what I mean.
If they are currently being utilized, though, they would be a part of that inventory.
Okay. Okay. It just seems like, I don't know if we should do all the changes first and then do this, or how would that?
Did they come in on, you want to talk about the process of coming in, or did you already mention that earlier?
Sure. No, it goes back to building that baseline, and that's the number one. What we've learned and what we're experts at is helping school districts getting accurate inventories of and accurate data into the system. And we're working with the warehouse and with leaders in the district to, starting with your core subjects, and we're going to be barcoding and entering in those first, and continuing the consultation process and saying, hey, if these books are going to be phased out within the very near future, why take the time to barcode them and put them into the system? So we're working with you to help prioritize that.
So they're already working with us.
Absolutely.
As far as the conversations behind the scenes, they haven't started anything.
No. But that's definitely a big part of the conversation, is what we would call the barcoding strategy and consulting with you.
Reverend Butler?
Yeah. I want to switch to another part of the resource management, and that is the assets. It sounds like that, too, is something that we need to make sure that we're more efficient at, especially when we have flat horns and different things like that. I just wonder again what that looks like in terms of the District 150 is there some type of indication that we've lost those things as well? We're not able to move those things around and don't quite know where we're at with the assets?
Well, and I kept that in part of in part of my presentation because I really wanted to illustrate that this is a solution is scalable as your needs change. So it's built to meet your needs today, and we're continuing to develop it to meet your needs for tomorrow. Based on our conversations with leaders in the district, the biggest problems was with the textbook as well as the library piece. Certainly, we'd be happy to entertain discussions later on down the line. Right now, the asset piece that we have is really geared towards handling the management of assets at a school level. And so, based on what we know, it really just wasn't the right time to discuss anything else beyond that.
So, any other questions? I have a few. So this deals only with textbooks and library books at this point?
That is correct.
That's the only scope of the proposal?
Correct.
Okay, so portable property, computers, athletic equipment, instruments, and so forth are not covered by this?
The asset management module is not covered in this solution. However, Destiny is a very robust resource management solution. So, for example, in the library piece, obviously a librarian is accountable for managing specific equipment. It might be projectors or DVD players. You can certainly manage those types of resources within the library piece as well. Textbooks, how do you define a textbook? Whether you would want to include that as far as like science kits and other types of resources. Destiny Textbook Manager is definitely robust enough to handle things that are beyond a traditional textbook.
Does this include the scanning equipment?
Yes, it does. It includes 29 scanners.
So that's one scanner per school?
Correct. And the scanners that are currently being used in the libraries will be compatible with Destiny as well.
Okay. And the training for the software and what's resident on the server, all of that's done with your support then?
Absolutely. We have a number of different trainings that are included in the district, from what we would call a decision maker training down to the end users on-site professional training.
Okay, with an inventory, I think you said $4 million value, something like that?
Over $4 million.
What's the typical savings for a district of our size with that sort of asset base on an annual basis?
Well, from what we see, school districts lose anywhere between 8 to 10% of their textbook inventory on a yearly basis. And after that first year, we anticipate that you're going to save 50% of that.
And those losses come from just somebody misplaces it, or they just don't know where they are, or?
Inaccurate inventories, students losing materials, and also lack of policy and procedure that comes from the top down.
Okay.
So it's a big part of what we include as part of our solution, is not just providing the software, but through strategic planning meetings and helping and finding out what works for the district and what doesn't work for the district. We provide our expertise and recommendations about new policies and procedures that are going to be needed to ensure this is going to be successful.
What's the biggest stumbling block to implementing this?
The biggest stumbling block is probably not getting the data into the system, to be honest with you. Our barcoding services, which are included as part of your solution, are not mandatory, but they're always recommended. And what I've seen personally is districts that think that they can get the data into the system on their own. We're going to be able to do this in 2 weeks for you, and it might take up to a year for a district to do that on their own. Imagine barcoding every single book.
Yeah. Also, just another question. With the ability to check out ebooks, is there any way to integrate this with public libraries?
What do you mean by integrate?
Well, if the Peoria Public Library has ebooks available for library card holders, could you do that through your own account there?
Do you want to handle that, Jim?
Yeah, I'll talk about that one a little bit. Hi, I'm Jim. Happy New Year. As far as integrating the public library, a piece that's included with Library Manager is our one search. Sean mentioned a little bit of that earlier, where a search was done and it showed resources right in your libraries, some of the website resources and database resources. The public library, through a Library of Congress standard, a protocol called Z3950, could allow that integration for the public library catalog to be included within your district or school's catalogs. So for your students, when they're doing a search, and, if we're looking at Stu, and it might be the evening or the weekend, your schools are closed, but they're depending on those public libraries. So they'll be able to see, hey, there's a resource that they want to check out from that public library that shows up right in Destiny for them. And then they can log on to that public library site to actually do that checkout from there.
Okay. One other question.
Oh.
Go ahead, please.
No, I really am interested in, the virtual textbooks, and how can we, with the advent of more talk about high school online, how can we, this may not be the system, but why aren't our textbooks online?
That's a question that we discuss almost on a daily basis with school districts.
You have that capability?
Destiny Textbook Manager is built to support digital textbooks. And as a matter of fact, for example, if you have a school that has a mix of traditional and digital textbooks, you can actually put a link to that digital textbook right within the patron information. So if a student leaves a book at school, but they still need to access that, they can access it from home. The rub is that the publishers have not all come together on agreement of how they want to deliver that content. It's how that content is going to be delivered. So we have our mantra is we want to be device agnostic and publisher agnostic. So we're developing our solutions to manage that content no matter how those publishers are going to deliver it. So again, while this is built to meet your needs today, it's also going to be there tomorrow as those needs change too.
I just one other thought. Is there any possibility that if you have 60,000 school systems of, in effect, sharing a database for those schools that have excess supplies and those schools that have needs so that you can fill that without having to buy new textbooks? I'm sure the textbook publishers would hate it, but...
Well, the state of South Carolina actually has a statewide consortium running Destiny Textbook Manager, and that's exactly what they do. We've got a number of consortiums in Texas as well. So that's a very...
Is there any thought of that in Illinois?
Not at this point, but I'd be happy to discuss that.
Well, there's no money for it, so it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, but...
But to your point, right now, the district purchases textbooks from our sister company, Follett Educational Services, and that company is actually involved with purchasing any surplus books that you've had. So we've done that. We've been doing that for a number of years with Peoria. But what's nice now is it was a difficult process because the warehouse was never really sure about the inventory or what they needed or what they might need in the future and what really is surplus. Now that we're going to help you harness that accurate data, there's actually a button that you press in Destiny Textbook Manager that sends that report to Follett Educational Services, and we can send Peoria a quote on what we would purchase your surplus books for. So the power of data is going to be there to help everybody out.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for your time.
Remarkable rule number 3, respect our finances. Dr. Kinney. And we're back on the screen.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to do it. I think I'll be able to do it from here when Chris gets it set up. Where's the button? Yeah, but for the light. Okay. All right. Okay, major construction that's been ongoing, Lincoln and Peoria High. Lincoln is done as of about last Monday. So a lot of work went into it, even on last Monday, and so that it was ready for school on Tuesday. So obviously some punch lists, and we have we'll have about $500,000 in reserve held out to make sure that the punch lists are done and training is done and so forth. But we're excited about that part of it. Peoria High, it's actually probably closer to about 60% done. HVAC, the heating obviously is done and working. Every radiator in the school came out and new units put in. There are heat pump units in every classroom. That happened so quickly over last summer in order to get ready for school that every room needs to be touched up where the old radiators were, but we'll get there. Restroom renovation already occurred. Science wing is, the first floor is about done. I've got a picture to show you. As far as just the masonry shell and a lot of the plumbing and electrical going into it. I'm in the rough construction. And the new gym wing is well underway too. So we'll show you a couple pictures here. That's the gym. It's being done in what is to me is in a very fascinating way. What you see there with the bricks and the stonework, those are actually concrete panels that were fashioned in that way and then lowered into place on a crane. I apologize, the picture isn't a little brighter, but that was last Friday with my cell phone on a rainy day, so it still came out and shows. So I'm just fascinated by this kind of construction because you go inside and the whole thing's totally open at this point. So they left a corner open that you can't see from here, but the next phase will be getting the roof on, getting it all closed in, so they'll be able to do the inside work. Now the science wing, what this kind of shows you is that the first floor, as I said, is closed in. They're actually running heaters in there so that they can work all winter to finish it. What you see up on top there, you'll see what's finished there is the gym, the current main gym. The wall that's being built is actually the top of the atrium hallway that will be there. But the second floor is coming along, and I was hoping maybe a little quicker, closed in before bad weather hits, but it is moving, and they will be able to continue working, as I said, on the first floor of that science wing all throughout the winter. Whoops, I'm sorry. All right, we've already talked a little bit about Calvin Coolidge Gym and Rolling Acres Cafeteria. We will need to get a building committee scheduled here soon, but first schematic here, this is first print from the architects. They have not met with the building principals, but this is Calvin Coolidge, and you can see, top view, a site view. The little blue area is what will be the new gym area, and it will have restrooms, it will have some dressing rooms and storage and so forth, PE office with it. We'd like to have moved it up against the building, but if you're familiar with the Calvin Coolidge site, the building itself, that bottom part that you see there, you go south from there towards where the blue gym is, and there's a fairly significant drop in the topography there. So we felt like the easiest way to handle this and get good access into the new gym area was to actually put that separation in there. So again, we will talk about it in a building committee meeting to keep this moving forward. Again, you can see that the shot up there on the upper right-hand corner, that's a close-up of what the gym will look like. Rolling Acres, the red square there is where the cafeteria will be put in on the back side of the gym, and you see a little hallway. Then the bigger block on the bottom left-hand corner, that's more of a diagram of what it'll actually look like. But it will seat 180, so he'll be able to get his lunches served in 2 periods. It'll have a nice kitchen, which is going to be good for the kids. We'll do some food prep there and storage and so forth with all of that. That hallway will come right off of that set of doors that's just north of the library there. Those doors exist, so it's a perfect place for it. And this design will give us a good student entry into the to the cafeteria area where kids can line up to go through the serving line. It'll also create a little bit of a courtyard. Mr. Barber is very excited about that because kids will actually be able to exit out of the cafeteria in that area and eat outside, of course with permission. So we're excited about being able to do that. And again, one of the things that we're doing, we'll talk about it in a minute, is trying to upgrade some of our schools so that we can serve more or do more food prep at schools. All right, Emmanuel Academy Auditorium, we did do all new lighting there and all new sound system. Actually, we are just finishing sanding the stage and repainting the stage floor so that It'll be better for musical productions and other plays and so forth. One of the things that, and I've, let you know, there'll be lots and lots of lighting work, especially in gyms throughout the district. The lighting that we're using, we're able to get rebates. Right now, we've got about $70,000 that we'll be getting in rebate money to help pay for all of this. And in most cases, payback is in about a year or so. So one of the complaints we've had from referees to coaches to PE teachers is our gyms need to be brighter. This will take care of that and save money at the same time. Third part of this little slide, air conditioning, part of what we're going to use that capital development board money for was air conditioning. So these are the first 3 schools we're going to take on tentatively, Woodrow Wilson, Von Steuben, and Keller. Those schools we haven't done a lot to, so we thought those would be good schools to start with in air conditioning. Now Keller we've done some work at with that addition, but it's going to be a real easy one for us to do. So we thought that would give us something to get done and show. All right, kitchen update. As of last year, we were already doing some food prep at Harrison and Glen Oak. About 2 months ago, we added Tree Win, and now that we have Lincoln with its beautiful kitchen, we'll be able to do more food prep there. These all have kitchens, and so it was just a matter of either renewing something or getting them going. At Sterling and Lindbergh, within a few weeks, we'll be starting those. Those do not have traditional type kitchens, so we're ordering specialized heating equipment that will heat up food that's already been cooked once and just needs to be reheated. Things like pizza, chicken nuggets, things like that. So again, we'll be able to serve food that was warmed up in a more timely fashion. Knoxville, it does have its own kitchen, so we will be tackling that very quickly. Obviously, Rolling Acres with its new kitchen will be a no-brainer, and Roosevelt, we're going to start doing some demolition of some stuff that's there so we can kind of open up that kitchen and get it online as well. And when all of those schools are done, that's about 5,000 students that will be able to serve, again, with food prepared right in their own schools, get in a more timely fashion. So we're excited about that. All right, school security. I did want to talk a little bit about some things that we've already have in place as well as some things that we're planning on doing so that people are aware of it. I think this is our first board meeting since the Connecticut situation, so a lot of this stuff that you will see that we intend to do, we'd already started plans for some of it. So just want to give you an update. Obviously, you all know we have a security force of 22 resource officers as well as 2 administrators. One of the things that we are doing at the high schools currently is random wanding as kids come in. They're very used to it, but we are doing that. We do have metal detection available if we need it, but the random wanding is accomplishing that. At every one of our schools, we have determined one main entrance with a few exceptions. For example, Sterling has a pre-K entrance that's separate from the middle school entrance. Rolling Acres has the developmental center entrance that's separate from the main school entrance. But when there's a separate department or a separate facility there, we have that. But we've already created limited access. We do have visitor sign-in, sign-out, and escorts as needed. In some of our schools, we have a main entrance design that funnels kids or visitors into the office before they can go to any other part of the building. And I do have a picture of Rolling Acres, how we did that last summer. At some schools, we also have door monitors. So that's important. At some schools, we just can't quite put together the right kind of facility, so having a door monitor is very important. Manual High School, Richwoods are examples of that. We also have our carpentry staff and locksmiths that can handle anything we need to do fairly quickly. So that is very important. Continuing this same idea, we do have some schools that have exterior door buzzers controlled and have a camera and intercom system that requires visitors to be buzzed in. That is at some schools. At all of our schools, we have use of proximity cards for school staff with card readers, and at certain doors, and we have regular deadbolt or key locks at other doors. The keys are given out to very few people, People that have card readers, all of that information, when people enter a building, that's all recorded, so we know who's been going in. We do have alarm systems with all our buildings. That you can, as you could have read a couple of weeks ago, even of our closed buildings, so people went into Ting, and we were right there to take care of that. One of the things people don't realize, we do have a lot of cameras already in place, over 430 of them. We have about 40 more currently planned at a couple of facilities, and certainly we have the ability to expand on that, and that's very important to us too. We also have shared already floor plans of all of our facilities via electronics with the police department and fire department. Okay, so what are some things that we're looking at? Obviously, we can improve our signage to make sure that people do know where to go at school main entrances. We want to make sure that signage does direct them there. And I don't think I mentioned this, but we do have some signage on some of our schools that already warn people that they may be under surveillance, or we have a right to inspect their cars or to turn them away. We are going to also clearly number every set of doors at every facility. We haven't done this yet. Some school districts have done that, but we think it's important to do. And we're talking about a big 1 foot by 1 foot number or bigger than that, so that if a fire department or police department comes up, there's a system for numbering the doors. They know exactly what entrance to go to. I think that'll facilitate any kind of an emergency situation that we might have. We do want to reconfigure some more main entrances in some schools to, again, funnel people through the office. We think that's important. It's not going to be difficult to do. Places like Von Steuben, we can do it fairly quickly. A number of schools, we're looking at Franklin. Now, Franklin, we're going to need to switch the office location. Pretty hard to funnel people directly into the office if it's on the second floor. So those are some changes that we'll be able to make, and we already actually had some of these underway. We're going to install more exterior door buzzers, controlled with a camera, and so forth. Again, in some cases, we may have the secured pathway in one building and a buzzer system in another. We don't think there's anything wrong with having both when we can. So that's one of the conclusions I think we've come to recently that makes sense. One of the things that we do have in some of our buzzer systems, when somebody goes up to door, there may be a dedicated phone line to a dedicated phone on one staff member's desk. As we move forward, we're going to expand this so that that phone is an IP-type phone. The buzzer on the outside, when they talk into it, it'll be more like a phone that's part of our phone system, so that anybody in the office, including the administrator, will be able to recognize that somebody is at the door, will be able to communicate with them, and will be able to see whatever the camera sees, not just one person. We want the whole office to have that ability. When I talked about the secured pathway, maybe you can see this side here is Rolling Acres before we did the work last summer. And it had 3 doors at the front. And what we did was we put 4 doors then at the front when we remodeled, and we created a glass hallway right here. We actually had to cut into the wall and make a door here. We closed off the principal's doorway, office doorway, and moved it to the other side here, and then redid the furniture. That way, when school starts at Rolling Acres, we've done the same kind of thing in Peoria, we've done it in a number of places. When school starts, all those doors are locked, and the only door that's left open is one that would funnel people then directly through the office. So, a thing that we think works well, and we're going to do it at more places. So. And one of the big things I think that is important to us is to make sure that we're training people adequately. We want to make sure that all office staff know how to greet somebody or how to deal with if there's somebody there that they're not comfortable with, letting in, we'll know how to handle that. We think it's important to let students know, because they're guilty of it too. Sometimes they'll see somebody at a door and let somebody in. So we want to make sure that they've been trained not to do that. We also want to make sure our parents are aware of what our practices are, so that, we don't want to turn anybody off to our school systems. But if they come to the front door, we just want them to know to expect that there will be a system for letting them in. One of the things we've also talked about is we have, with all of these cameras, we have the ability now to look at laptops and see what all of our cameras are showing. So we want to share that portability with our city police. So that if a city policeman is called to one of our high schools, we're going to start with them and leave it at that to start with to make sure it works. But if a policeman's called to a school at midnight, he'll be able to load up his laptop and see what all of the cameras are seeing in the different hallways before he would enter the building, or if he wants to call for backup or whatever. So fairly simply done, so we're going to contact the police and work on that. And then another thing that we are doing is we are currently working with our resource officers. We want them familiar with all buildings, so that if we have a particular need at one building, all the police officers would be able to respond adequately if anything should occur. So kind of our plans. It's a fairly quick sketch of what we're doing. This doesn't reflect any of the things that our guys are doing from day to day with work orders and all of that. This doesn't reflect anything we're doing with literally what will end up being millions of dollars worth of health, life, safety work over the next few years. But just wanted to get you up to date. So any questions?
Just a comment, because a speaker mentioned earlier about administrators being out in the building. Just so the public is aware that when we go out and conduct walkthroughs, we're in the building, we're looking not only at what's happening as it relates to academics, but we're also looking at the facilities and making note of the improvements that we need to make, and just to make sure that we are ensuring that our staff and our students are safe throughout the school day.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Wolfmeyer?
Not really a question. I just want to say thank you for the update on the security. I know it's in the forefront of everybody's mind since what happened in Connecticut, and we need to be cognizant of it all the time. I appreciate that we immediately got an email from the superintendent telling us what was going on in our buildings, what you were looking at doing. And I'm sure there are ongoing things going on with staff every day on a daily basis that we aren't aware of, and it's not really our role to be aware of all the conversations and all the articles you're looking up and all the communication you have. But I appreciate the ongoing efforts of the staff to make sure that our staff and our students are safe in our buildings. Thank you.
Ms. Costick?
A quick question in regards to where we're putting, rerouting offices and putting in additional enclosures. Now, is that with reinforced glass, or is it just?
Yeah, it's whatever we need to do legally. Some glasses, and I don't know all the rules, I mean, that's up to our architects and so forth, and the glass companies know. Some glasses need to shatter into little pieces that are safe, so we're doing whatever the laws are requiring. I mean, they're not bulletproof glasses. We're not going there. That would be just incredibly expensive.
No, that's not what I was asking. I was
yeah.
just asking if it was reinforced or whether.
Yeah, anytime we're dealing with that, there are safety requirements. And in fact, if you look at some of our health, life, safety issues, some of the things we're going to end up doing is replacing some glass, like in trophy cases, for example, where we need to have a safety glass in those. So we're very sensitive to that.
And I think that I noticed you said wands. I think that it just say wands.
Yes.
So there's no walkthroughs or anything.
No, we have them available if we needed them, but the wands are pretty effective, and I think our police officers are good at it. If you watch them when the kids are walking into the high schools, I've watched it a number of times at Peoria High. They catch kids randomly, so they'll just stop them, and it's just like what you see at the airport.
We do use them at basketball games, and we can set them up at a moment's, within a day's notice of getting everything calibrated. But we do use them daily at Woodruff, though.
Now, let me ask this question. Are we going to just have like random, like where we would set them up at a school?
Yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no is because of the fact that based on information that we receive, based on what's going on, whether it's something going on within the school or the school community, we make a decision when we need to actually do the full walkthroughs. And then we also make a decision about the one, whether it's random or if it's on a daily basis. But we don't send out a blanket. Like I said, you get notification, but far as notifying people, just so that we can make sure that our students are safe. What we find is people will throw things outside of a school perimeter or on their way to school, and so we just want to make sure. So we're doing different things, we just don't announce it publicly, what we're doing and when we're doing it. Does that answer what you...
Any other questions? I think one of the principles of good security is you don't tell everybody everything you're doing. For the very reason you don't want them to know what you're doing, so they can't figure it out. So, okay, anything else on that? Next item, purchase orders over $2,500. Any questions? Any comments, Dr. Kinney? Any concerns? Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 4, remarkable Rule 4, respect individual differences. Dr. Latham.
Since our last board meeting report on December 10th, 2012, we received 3 new Freedom of Information Act requests. Of these new requests, 1 was filled. There were no pending requests noted on the December 10th, 2012 board report. We have received 2 requests for this calendar year.
Thank you. We'll now move to the action items and the consent agenda. Reverend Butler, would you do us the favor of reading the consent agenda this evening?
Yes, Mr. Cloyd. Under the action items for the consent agenda, item number 1 consists of gifts to the school district, and the proposed action is that the Board of Education accept the following donations be accepted and letters of appreciation be sent to the donors. For this meeting, there is a total of $43,000, $670.54. The gifts in cash and in items range from $20 to $20,000 of individual gifts. There are a total of 38 donors. Again, the total amount being over $43,000 with over $22,000 to the district foundation. So year-to-date, our gifts to the school district total $74,052.21. Number 2 on the consent agenda is payment of bills. Number 3, Human Resources Report. The proposed action is that appointment, employment, compensation, performance, resignation, retirement, or discharge of an employee, and I think I'm not getting the rest of that on mine.
That's all it says.
That's all it says? Okay, I thought I had something blocking it here. And then number 4, the travel request. Number 5, 2013-2014 school calendar. The proposed action that the Board of Education adopt the attached 2013-2014 school calendar. Number 6, 2013-2014 calendar for Valeska Hinton Early Childhood Education. The proposed action that the Board of Education adopt the attached 2013-2014 school calendar for Valeska Hinton Early Childhood Education Center. Number 7, Peoria IEA NEA Home Facilitators Union Contract. The proposed action that the Board of Education approve the Home Facilitators Contract effective July 2nd, 2013, and ending June 30th, 2016. 8, Movable Soccer Goal Policy. Proposed action that the Board of Education waive the first reading and approve the new board policy 7:305, the movable soccer goal policy as required by the state of Illinois. That concludes all the agenda items for the consent calendar.
Thank you, Reverend Butler. Would any board member like to have any of these pulled for an individual vote? Thank you. Could we have a motion then for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Or questions? Ms. Wolfmeyer.
Just quickly, I'd like to note that the movable soccer goal policy is a result of state law that requires us to have this policy, and it's been looked at and gone over by the policy committee and the athletic directors and our district athletic director, so that comes directly from those. But that's why we're waiving the first reading. It's a requirement by law, and I think we probably want to have it in place before the spring soccer season starts.
Yes, I believe that arose as a result of a fatality from a soccer goal that was not secured up in the Chicago area, and as a result of that, the state moved on that issue, and this keeps us in compliance with that state requirement. If I could, Dr. Lathan, could you briefly comment on the school calendars, item number 5 and 6, please, just how those are derived and what the effect of that is?
Yes, the school calendar, item number 5, there's a calendar committee made up of different bargaining group members, along with Ms. Dunn, and so they met in the fall and actually created the calendar. And then the calendar is presented for your presentation or acceptance tonight. The Valeska-Hinton calendar is created by the administrators at Valeska based on the proposed calendar that the calendar committee created. But no major changes to the calendar. It's consistent with the calendar in the past. It's just our goal to be able to notify parents in the community of the opening of school and the different vacations so they can plan accordingly.
And will these be posted online at some point then?
Oh, by tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you. And this is only for the coming school year, 13-14?
Yes, and
1
then the
year.
committee will meet again next fall to plan for 14-15.
Okay. Dr. Kinney, could you briefly comment on the contract item number 7?
Yes, it actually is a contract that is not expired yet, so we did get that taken care of, and we met with that group a number of times. It was a good amicable negotiations time, so.
And that covers...
It's a very small group.
It's
It's only four
members,
four
yes.
homeschool facilitators, but it worked out fine, so.
Any other questions or comments? Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. The deliberation agenda, item number 9. Ms. Ross?
Okay, let me get back there.
This is
No.
item number 9.
Item number 9, revocation of board probation. Proposed action is that the revocation of board probation listed on the report dated January 14, 2013 be approved as presented.
Second. Madam Secretary?
Aye.
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 Aye. Number 10.
Item number 10, expulsions. Proposed action is that the expulsions listed on report dated January 14, 2013 be approved as amended.
Present as amended, yes. Second. Madam Secretary?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. We come to the point with presentation and suggestions by board members. Do we have any this evening?
Yes.
Reverend Butler?
Yes. I would just like to suggest from the Don't Shoot luncheon that we attended earlier in the month, that we do designate a presentation of those poster winners for one of the board meetings to be acknowledged publicly from here.
Okay, and the students have also been invited to the city council meeting next Tuesday night, January 22nd, and so they'll be recognized also on that night, and then we'll have them attend the next board meeting also. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do we have any board committee reports? I think there's a building committee to be planned.
Yes, Mrs. Costick and I will get with Dr. Kennedy to see when we can plan that committee.
And I'll report out from the Parent Teacher and Advisory Committee, which met on January the 10th, that we are still looking at how we can improve or enhance the letters that go out to the parents regarding suspension and expulsion. And we have sought administration help in that, and we'll have a look at some of their perhaps offerings in that language change at the next meeting, which is scheduled for Thursday, February the 14th at 4:45. So we'll look at that, and then we'll continue to also look at the policy on bullying, where we're looking at particularly some things that are happening up in the Chicago area. But again, our next meeting will be Thursday, February the 14th at 4:45 PM.
Sorry.
The thrill is gone. The thrill is gone, time to adjourn.
It turned out. I'm so sorry.
Do we have any other requests? Ms. Wolfmeyer, I believe we have another policy committee to set up in the next couple of weeks. Okay. Anything else this evening? That being the case, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
The thrill is gone.
Did you just see me turn this down upstairs? Yes. Oh, what happened?
I like got tired. Since stretching this out any longer, the thrill is gone.
It's still going. This thing is all the way down. I don't understand. Look, it's all the way down. Why is it still doing that?